everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
And today we're talking about National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, released in 1989, starring Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Juliette Lewis, Johnny Galecki, Diane Ladd, E.G. Marshall, Doris Roberts, Randy Quaid, Brian Doyle Murray, and I think that's about it. I forget who plays Clark's dad, but it's fine. This has become a Christmas classic. I'm wearing, it's not a Christmas Vacation sweater, but I am wearing a Christmas sweater. It's actually a Home Alone sweater, but
Which
yeah,
kind of has a relation.
A little bit, yeah. It was
John Hughes.
That's true. I forgot to mention that it was written by John Hughes, the late great John Hughes. This was the third of the Vacation movies. There was Vacation, then there was European Vacation, and then Christmas Vacation. And it might be because I saw this one first, but this is my favorite of the Vacation movies. I like it more than the original.
I don't think you're alone on that. I think most people would agree.
I think so. And I think most people agree that European Vacation is probably the weakest. I actually like, even though it's not written by John Hughes, I like Vegas Vacation more than European Vacation.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I remember the last time I saw European Vacation, which might have been the first time, I don't remember, but I remember after the movie was over thinking about it, and I don't remember laughing one time.
Yeah, I have seen it once, and I honestly don't really remember it that much. Yeah. It's just not a very memorable movie. This movie, on the other hand, is very memorable. I don't have a memory of seeing it for the first time, though. I'm pretty sure I saw snippets of it here and there on TV growing up. I know it wasn't my parents' favorite movie. I think, now I don't think they care, but I think when I was younger, they probably didn't think some of the comedy was appropriate for me,
Right. There's a few in there. For sure.
Yeah. But as I got older, I definitely, because I remember, Chevy Chase says the F word at the end of the movie, and I remember the first time probably watching it like on DVD or something, being like, oh, like I didn't realize he said it, because I'm pretty sure I saw like the TV versions so many times before that. So, do you have a memory of seeing it for the first time?
I actually saw it in the theater.
Did you really? Oh,
yes.
Wow.
1989. And I remember going, getting our tickets, showing our tickets, and they had one of those cardboard displays, but his arms were motorized, and they were like slowly like going up and down,
wow.
like as he was on top of his roof and had like tangled, the lights and stuff.
Like the poster, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And his arms were moving. That definitely got my attention. So, when we go in and watch the movie, and then it starts with that animated, opening intro.
Yep,
yeah.
Yep.
Like I remember I definitely remembered seeing it in the theater.
Nice.
So
that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. I definitely did not get to see this one in the theater.
I was like 5 years old.
Yeah. I mean, this came out the same year as Batman. So yeah, I would have been at that point, I guess, because if it came out around Christmas time, I would have been 6 years old. But yeah, I didn't get a chance to see it. That's really cool though. I feel like part of the reason why we chose this movie to talk about, number one, it's a Christmas movie, and this is going to come up. This is basically our Christmas episode. But I feel like there's a story with this movie that I feel like we kind of have to share with the world. And I don't know if anybody's going to find it funny except for me and you. But we have to give some backstory here. So we were in college, and at the time...
That's always a bad way to start an explanation.
They go, oh no. All right. Yeah, we were in college, and at the time we were roommates. And we both were wanting to be filmmakers at the time. And at the time, my favorite filmmaker was Robert Rodriguez. And it's almost embarrassing to say now, but like because he wore a bandana while he was directing films, like I started wearing a bandana whenever we would do like our college videos and stuff, and you would do the same thing. So we had a couple of bandanas laying around the house. And you and I used to watch movies all the time when we were living in that house together. and it was around Christmas time, so we popped in Christmas Vacation, and that song started playing in the opening credits, and you just started singing it like so loudly, or so, I don't remember, but it got on my nerves.
Probably very obnoxiously.
Very obnoxious. And I remember it just started to really piss me off. And I was like, shut up. And you wouldn't stop singing it. I think the credits had finished at this point too. Like we were in the scene where they're on the way to the tree, and you're still just going Christmas Vacation. And so finally, I had enough, and I went and grabbed one of your bandanas. And
this is my only bandana. That bandana meant a lot to me, actually.
And I threatened to throw it. We had a fire going in the fireplace. I guess it was I didn't, But anyway, I threatened to throw it in the fire, and I think you thought I was bluffing, and so you started singing again, and I tossed it in there, and you immediately were like, "Dude!" And you ran over there, got it out. I don't remember how burned it was. I don't remember if
it was destroyed.
It was it?
I couldn't use it.
Couldn't save it.
It was burned enough to where, I was pretty mad.
So then you were very upset, and you went and ran and grabbed one of mine. However, I had multiples, and so it didn't really concern me. But you went outside, and you held it up. I just remember seeing this. You held it up, and you held a lighter up to it with, like, wide eyes, and you were like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I was like, I don't care. And I turned away from you. And when I turned back, you were lighting it on fire. And I was like, whatever. And I turned away. And when I turned back, you were like freaking out because it was a little too on fire. And you were like shaking it and trying to blow on it. And you were like, oh, God.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, the main thing I remember from that was how mad I was that you actually burned my bandana. So I was like, all right, he's gonna feel my pain.
Yeah.
But like you said, you didn't care. So.
I did. Yeah, I didn't care, and I think you did burn that one up pretty good. But silly. Yeah.
It was apparently burning in my fingers.
Yeah, I just remember seeing you go. And that was pretty funny. I do feel bad about burning your one and only bandana, but
that's okay. It's
you
fine.
wouldn't stop singing the stupid song. I actually really like the song, and I feel like it's a shame you can't find it. I tried looking on like Spotify and iTunes. You can't find that song, or like the official song. Like there are some other people's recordings of it that are not as good,
right?
But that official song from the movies,
that's
I can't find it. Yeah, I don't know if there was a soundtrack ever released, but if so, I haven't been able to find it.
Yeah, I mean it's such a catchy song that you think they'd put some definite work into it. The lyrics match,
I love the animated opening credits too. That's something I feel like they don't do anymore, and that's something I always kind of found fun. This movie does it. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I think, does it, or at least Honey, I Blew Up the Kid does it. One of them does it, if not both of them. It's just, I kind of like the animated opening credits. It's always kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some more that were doing it. This was one of the main ones that does it. Like I don't think there were a whole lot that.
There might not have been.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. You got Pink Panther,
Right,
that
right.
Was one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I did hear the song on my radio. Like I have a, XM radio or whatever. And I remember last year driving around, and that Christmas Vacation, like the official version, came on the radio. So there is it's out there, I guess. I just don't know how to get it. Maybe I'll look on eBay, see if the soundtrack is available on eBay or something. An old CD copy. Anyway, I don't remember if we ever finished the movie that day. I don't know.
No, I probably was not
in the mood.
Sitting down and watching the movie after that. That's my guess.
No, you're probably right.
I mean, to be fair, I was singing it a long time. It wasn't like you just had a short temper. Like I was trying to push you to
right. You're trying to push my buttons. Yeah,
and boy, did it work.
Yeah, I don't know how to segue now into the movie. Really.
Well, okay. So you said your parents don't really.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably. I mean, there's not that much language in the movie, but it's probably the language in the movie. I know that there's also a little bit of him like kind of
Right.
oogling, or
Right.
what's the word? Ogling the woman at the
Right.
the store. So I'm sure that type of stuff they didn't want me as a 6-year-old seeing. And then as I got a little older, I don't think they really cared, but they also didn't really go out of their way to rent it or anything like that,
So for my family, it's definitely been a tradition to watch it pretty much like we
Really?
watch it every year. Yeah.
It's kind of become a thing for me to watch it every year now, but my family, it's not really something I watch with my family.
Mm-hmm.
My family's big movie to watch every year is It's a Wonderful Life, which I do love, and that's probably my favorite Christmas film. But this, Home Alone, the Santa Claus, actually,
I
and
actually
a couple
haven't
others.
seen that for a long time.
Really?
I don't even know if my kids have actually seen the Santa
Oh,
Claus
wow.
yet.
I think that one's. I mean, I really enjoy watching that one, and there's a
Yeah.
couple other ones I can't remember exactly. But
For me, I definitely liked the animated ones like Rudolph,
yeah,
and Frosty, and Charlie Brown, and the Grinch. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That's really the only Grinch rendition that I like personally.
You're not a fan of the Jim Carrey one, huh?
Not really, no.
I like the Jim Carrey one, but I do feel like there wasn't enough story to make it a 90-minute. I mean, I think that movie's longer than 90 minutes, but they didn't have enough story to make it a full feature-length film, and so they had to stretch it out, and it feels kind of long to me, the Jim Carrey version. But I like it for what it is. But I do, if I had to choose, obviously, I'd choose the animated one.
Yeah.
The Vincent Price narrated one.
A Christmas Story.
Oh, yeah, A Christmas Story. How could I forget that one? I love A Christmas Story. That one is you got to watch that one every year.
Yeah, it's kind of right up there with this one.
Yeah, I was trying to look at my shelf to see. Yeah, I don't know, but I know there's Scrooged is one. That's not one I watch every year, but I do like that one.
Yeah, Scrooged is definitely a good one. Jingle All the Way is a good one that I don't watch all the year, but or every year, but
that one my wife really likes. And that one is a good one. I do like that one, Jingle All the Way. It's not the greatest film, but I actually really like the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol as well. Robert Zemeckis directed.
I remember liking that. I've only seen it once. Polar Express is actually one that I've grown to like more over time. Like I remember the first time I saw it, it felt so powerful, but it was just missing. It was like it was just missing something. But I've kind of lost that sense, and I can watch Polar Express and really kind of enjoy that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Christmas movies. There's a lot of good ones.
Muppet Christmas Carol. That's another one.
I don't know that one.
You don't know Muppet Christmas Carol? That honestly might be the best Christmas Carol version out there.
So my
Michael
favorite
Caine plays Scrooge.
Gotcha.
And he does a fantastic job. And even though it's a Muppets movie, I mean, it is a really good version of A Christmas Carol. You should watch it. It's probably on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I like the George C. Scott version.
I have never seen that one. I've heard that one's good though. Yeah,
I love it. It's so good. And the book itself is I loved reading it. It's pretty much everything that happens in the movies that you've seen, but
right.
It's just a really good read. So yeah, Christmas movies.
Yeah, this is up there with
Cheers like I said, to them. And here is my moose eggnog.
Yes, I love it. Like I said, this one has become kind of a Christmas classic. It is for you and I a staple of a required viewing every year for Christmas. And I really, really like it. It's like I said, it's my favorite of the vacation movies. Chevy Chase, I think, is hilarious in it.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that Rusty in this film grew up to be on The Big Bang Theory. That's the guy that plays Leonard, I think, on The Big Bang Theory is Russ in this movie, so that's kind of crazy.
Right. And when you look at him, you can actually see it. You're like, oh, this.
Oh yeah, it's the guy from Big Bang Theory, right? Yeah, and Juliette Lewis being Audrey. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It shows you. I mean, it doesn't. To me, the movie doesn't. I know the movie's over 30 years old now, but it's like it doesn't feel like it's that old to me.
Right.
And yet, Juliette Lewis and Johnny Galecki are playing kids.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The only thing that really makes it feel old is just the vehicles.
Right.
Like they aren't doing anything. Well, they do, because I've mentioned to, one of my kids, just reminding them when he gets stuck up in the attic. And I was like, they didn't have cell phones back then.
Yeah. He couldn't call. Yeah, exactly. And he does watch the old films on film, which is not really something that would be done
No, but
today.
right. But I think you can kind of look at that as stuff's up in the attic. So that's old stuff you'd find up there anyway.
Right.
The point being is, like you said, it doesn't feel like it's an out of date movie.
Right. It doesn't. It's actually fairly timeless in that sense, other than, like you said, the like the lack of cell phones.
The first shot of the station wagon.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, "Ooh, this is feeling old." Yeah. But as you get into the dialogue and everything, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I love the so I mean I pretty much love every scene in this movie, but the beginning, with Trek out to get the tree, and then Russ going, "Dad, did you bring a saw?" And then the next shot is the tree with the roots pulled up. I love it. It's a great image, but I just can't help but think about the Griswold family, like, on their hands and knees in the snow, digging out that tree's roots with their bare hands. Like, that would take 100 years.
And Clark probably standing back half the time and just watching them do it.
Right. Doing a great job.
He clearly hands a lot of the hard work to people, as he hands Russ the huge ball of
got a knot here. Yep.
There's so many quotable, this is one of those rare instances where the writing and the acting and the delivery, the music, everything just fit together, kind of like it did in Jurassic Park or Ghostbusters. And I remember really seeing how much love for this movie there was, and I didn't know about, just over the past 5 or 6 years, just with people, like sharing and stuff on social media, you can see this movie is insanely popular.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It is very well loved. That is for sure.
Right. Like, so many people have it as a tradition to watch this movie every year. And like you said, it's 30 years old.
Right.
So.
That, and I don't know. I should have looked up how it did in theaters. Like, I don't know if it was technically a success.
I think it did pretty well.
Did it do well? That's good. But I was going to say, that's how you know a movie, is a success, when people make it like a required viewing every year at Christmas time. Like A Christmas Story. Again, I don't really know how well that did in the theaters. I'm sure it did fine.
Actually, I remember hearing that Christmas Story was not
a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now, I mean, they have marathons of it on TV.
Right.
Now, and like, that is a movie that we pretty much did watch every year growing up. It wasn't necessarily required. It wasn't like we had to sit down as a family and tonight we're watching The Christmas Story. But that marathon, they'd always have those marathons on. It was like 24 hours of A Christmas Story. And we would just put it on TV and watch it, and we'd probably start in the middle of it and then watch to the end and then start it over. And
because you already had, the first half of the movie, you knew where you were. It was,
yeah.
And that's one of the cool things about Christmas time is that, and I think one of the things that can bring a lot of people comfort is just that familiarity of bringing back stuff, you're like, oh, this is the movie that we watch every year when we get to get out the eggnog and all that stuff.
And I think that's exactly, I think you just kind of hit the nail on the head. The familiarity. Wow, that's a word I can't say apparently. The yeah, whatever, you got it. We all know what it's like. Yeah, thank you. We all know what it's like to have our families come together at Christmas time, and how it can go, it can be great at times, but it can also be terrible at other times. And so so we can all kind of connect with this film, I feel like, so I think that's one of the things that makes this movie so great, is like, it's so funny because you can kind of feel their pain at times, and you're like, yep, I know.
And
what that's
for
like.
me and you, the fact that we grew up How you said you didn't see it in the theater, but you were pretty young when you first saw it, right?
Yeah, I feel like I remember watching it as a kid. It would have just been on TV. It would have been
Right.
censored and stuff or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm fairly certain I watched it like as a 12-year-old or something. You know.
Mhm. My point was going to be that for a lot of people now, since it's 30 years old, they grew up with the Griswolds.
Right. Yeah.
Every Christmas the Griswolds were a part of their Christmas, so you're revisiting kind of the family at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
I was thinking about all of the destruction that happened since you brought that up.
Right. His house gets destroyed, and that's what I just think is so funny. It's like, it's at first it's just there's people in the house and they're staying in rooms that, like Audrey hates the fact that the grandparents are staying in her room. She has to sleep in the bed with her brother. But then by the end of the movie, with the squirrel and the hog and the fire and everything,
he even does some of it by cutting off the post,
the newel post,
yeah.
Right? Yeah, yeah. It's just his house is destroyed by the end of it. And then, even going a little further past that, the police are literally just jumping through windows in his house. Like every window in his house is broken. Right. So his house is just demolished essentially by the end of the film. But he got that Christmas bonus, so it's okay.
He did. And they're all singing and dancing about it. It's hilarious. I love how what's the boss's name? Brian
Doyle Murray.
Yeah, what's
the character's name?
Yeah. Regardless.
Yeah.
He's there and he's telling his wife, he's like, I'm not going to press charges. And she's like, what? Are you crazy? And he's like, well, I kind of canceled Christmas bonuses this year. She's like, what? Of all the... And then it goes to the police officer. He's like, if I had a rubber hose. And he's like, I changed my mind.
I do like how the cop is like, he's like, how dare you? I don't even know you, but... I also love... They're not part of the family, but I love they have some of my favorite moments are the neighbors, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and the guy who's the actor's name I don't know. I'd have to look it up. Nicholas Guest is his name.
And lots of credit to him because he's great too. Like his reaction. For some reason I always think of him as Rob Lowe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
There's a line that they have that it's so simple and it cracks me up. And I have quoted this line to Denise before and she didn't know what I was talking about. But she says, and why is the carpet so wet, Todd? And he goes, I don't know, Margot. And I've said that to Denise before a couple times. I don't know, Margot. And she's like, what? But that line, he just delivers it so perfectly. I love that line.
It's like, yeah, he definitely gets his attitude back at her. It's right there. And yes, it's very apparent that he has an attitude.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah? You think you can have an attitude with me? Watch mine.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know, Margot. What do you think about... the grandparents? So Clark's parents were played by Diane Ladd and John Randolph, and Ellen's parents were played by Doris Roberts, who is probably most famous for Everybody Loves Raymond, and E.G. Marshall, who actually was in one of the Supermans. He was in 12 Angry Men, but he was also in Superman 2. He played the president. That's what I kind of know him from, Superman 2. But anyway, what do you think about the grandparents?
I love how, what's her name?
Which one?
the wife,
Ellen, Beverly D'Angelo.
Yes. So Ellen's parents. I love how they just completely treat Clark like trash. And he like goes throughout the movie just ignoring it,
right?
But like you can see he's like wanting to, but he's just trying to be the, and he'll make comments too, but it's subtle. That's one of the things that's so good about this movie is how many just subtle undertone sarcastic things happen in this movie. And now that we've seen it all so many times, we know it all, and it's just all throughout the movie.
Right. Yeah. But it is. It's. I mean, it's. I've seen the movie now enough times that I don't feel like I'm really picking up new stuff. But for a while, I'd watch this movie and be like, man, I never caught that line before, you know. And it's just little things like I love the line when the squirrel's in the house. And he goes, "Where's Eddie? He usually eats these things." And she's like, "Well, not anymore because he heard they were high in cholesterol." And he's like, "Thank you, Catherine." Like, that's not really what I was talking about, but okay. It's just little stuff like that. But you're right. Ellen's parents really are kind of jerks to Clark. Like when he's trying to get the lights to work, and she's like, "I hope you kids see what a terrible waste of resources this is." And at least Audrey sticks up for him, you know.
Right.
Says, he worked really hard on this.
That was something else I was going to mention was the scene where it shows everyone going to sleep for the first time, and Audrey and Russ are going to bed. And she goes, "Get off me, little fungus." That is the last line that she has, except for 2 other lines in the movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
crazy. I remember thinking, like, I don't remember talking that much about the movie. And I was like, I'm going to pay attention to when the next time she talks is. And it wasn't until he opens up the bonus check is the next line that she has.
Jeez, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. I've never noticed that. I'll have to pay attention next time I watch it. I was going to mention about the grandparents that it's just, they come in and there's this, it's kind of a tornado of stuff, you know, that like she's pointing at the mole. She tells Russ she's got the thing on her foot, and if he rubs it, she'll give him a quarter. And then that kind of
his reaction is so good.
Yeah,
because I was thinking about like how like they instructed him to act because of his age, you know, and he just turns, and you know that he like however much a quarter, you know, obviously is worth more then than it is now, but it still wasn't.
It was nothing. Still,
yeah. And his face is just like, dear God.
Right. Yeah. He does that. He performs that scene really well, and then there's a moment at the end that I always think he performs it really well, which is when he's trying to explain. Clark is trying to explain why the not getting the bonus was not, it wasn't any good, and he's like, well, what you did really, and Russ goes, sucks, and it cuts to Russ, and he's like, tell him, Dad. He kind of says it with like a nod of his head,
right?
And I always think that's kind of pretty well acted too. But you're right. His reaction to the quarter thing is fantastic. But what I was going to say was there's that whole tornado of stuff, and then it settles down, and then I think the next time you see the grandparents, the 2 grandfathers are just passed out in like the recliners, and I was like, it's like so true, and then the grandmothers are doing something, but and I know one of them turns up the TV so she can hear it over his snoring, but
right.
But yeah, I like that too, and
so and then of course we have
Cousin Eddie.
Randy Quaid, playing Cousin Eddie. His introduction is perfect.
Yeah.
Going down the line, everyone.
He finally gets the lights working on the house.
Right.
Of course, blinds his neighbors, which I think is hilarious. I also love seeing, you can see the city and like all the lights start going out. And then like they have to go to the auxiliary power at the power plant, and it all comes back on. And it shows the meters, and it's just like spinning wildly.
It was just such clever writing that was done into this. It was great. Yeah. And it's funny too, because this, with John Hughes writing it, and this came out before Home Alone, he seemed to be, I guess, I don't know if they approached him about Home Alone, maybe because of Christmas Vacation. No, because
Home Alone came about because they made Uncle Buck, and John Hughes was so impressed with Macaulay Culkin making Uncle Buck that he like wrote Home Alone for Macaulay Culkin. So I guess it just makes the most sense to set Home Alone during Christmas time because the family goes on a Christmas trip.
Right.
But and to have the burglars and all that during Christmas time. John Hughes does a good job writing Christmas movies.
Yeah, it's like 2 back to back right there. And like 2 of the biggest ones.
Shane Black also, none of his movies are technically Christmas movies, but Shane Black writes a lot of movies set at Christmas time as well. He did Lethal Weapon, which is set during Christmas. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is a great movie if you haven't seen it. It's set during Christmas. Iron Man 3 is set during Christmas. So there's something about he just likes setting his movies at Christmas time for some reason. That's 3 of them. I don't know if there's any more than that, but 3 out of all the movies he's made, that's quite a few at Christmas time.
Right.
Well, we barely talked about Cousin Eddie, so let's go.
Right.
Let's know, Randy Quaid is, he's hilarious. He does a great job at playing a character that you would not want anywhere near your home.
Everything he says is awkward.
Everything he says is awkward. Yes, it's completely normal to him. He doesn't realize it's awkward. He said something about, it's like when one of the grandparents goes in to give Rocky a kiss. He's like, he's like, well, I wouldn't do that if I were you. He's like, he's got a lip fungus or something. We haven't really quite figured it out yet, or something. It's just
that the doctors haven't identified. So he's got this fungus that no one has any idea what it is. It's like has not even been discovered.
The grandfather's like, what?
Yeah, and I love when he goes in and just smacks that like twirling.
Yes.
And all the pieces fall.
Yep. There's a joke in that. So this is a good example of how I know I watched this movie as a kid. Because when he says that, when he tells Clark, well, don't go falling in love with my RV because we're taking it with us when we leave next month. That joke went over my head as a kid. It's not an innuendo or anything.
Right.
But I just didn't understand why Clark chokes on his drink.
Right.
And my dad had to explain. I remember my dad had to explain it to me. He's like, he's going to be there for a month. And I was like, oh, okay. And I guess I was like, is that bad? As a kid, I was just oblivious to it. But now I do think it's hilarious. He's like, well, we take it next month. And he's like,
it's funny that you mentioned that because I think that's the one where I heard my mom like laugh when he said that. And I think it was the same thing. Like, I didn't get it.
Yeah. What?
Right.
It's funny how that joke kind of goes over your head as a kid. It's weird.
Right.
But it's, yeah. And I also they were never there for a month, but when my family, because my extended family lives in Michigan. So when they don't usually come down to Georgia anymore, but when they used to come down, we used to kind of do it every other year. Every other year we'd go to Michigan, and every other year they'd come down here. And so when they came down for a decent amount of time. It was a couple weeks maybe or something. And so it didn't seem like that kind of a crazy thing to say when we're leaving. And because you also, when is next month? That could be, well, I guess we know when it is in December. It's almost Christmas. So
yeah, they're probably at least there for 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah. So it didn't seem all that crazy, but obviously you don't want Cousin Eddie sticking around for more than at all, really.
Right.
But yeah.
Especially uninvited.
Uninvited, right.
Shows.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that's really hilarious is that when they're shopping.
Yes.
And then he agrees and he's like, here's the list. So he'd already been prepared for the offer.
Yep.
And then he tells Clark he wants him to get himself something really nice. From him.
Right.
From Eddie. Get something from me for you. Really nice.
One of the jokes that I love, and it's another one of those real subtle lines from Chevy Chase, is when they're getting ready for the sled. He's spraying all that stuff on the sled, and Cousin Eddie says, he's like, don't go spraying that on mine. He's like, I've had to get, that metal plate replaced with a plastic one, so he's like, I can't have anything happen to it. And Chevy Chase goes, would it really matter if it did? He says something like, would anybody notice, And
then he goes in and explains even more. Right. He's like, yeah, actually, if this gets dented,
yeah, it's like, it'll mess up my hair.
Yeah, it's so good.
And then I know it's like so ridiculous and so fake, obviously, but I love when Chevy Chase gets on that sled and you just see it. It's like a rocket going down that hill. Yeah. It just cracks me up every time. The only thing I don't like about that scene, and it's always kind of bugged me, is I feel like they didn't know how to end it. Like, he slams into the thing at Walmart, which I love, but then it goes back to Cousin Eddie and he goes, Bingo.
Right.
And that's like, it's just a weird way to end that scene.
It is very strange, but I know what you mean. Definitely. I also think it's hilarious, especially now that I'm older, the shopping center scene where he is talking to the girl.
Yeah.
And he looks over and sees Russ and like asks him,
can't see the line, can you, Russ?
to his son.
Yeah.
It's like, no, Dad. And then
it's also ridiculous that woman would do that.
Well, here's the thing. So she isn't like, she appears like when she smiles at him after he's like, oh, I'm divorced and all this. First, she's, like kind of annoyed with him, but then he says something and she's like starts to get a little flirty with him too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was her flirting with him.
It could be.
And his son happened to walk up.
kind of ruined it, essentially.
Yeah.
Yep. I love when he pats his head dry with the underwear, and then he goes to put it in his pocket, but he doesn't have a pocket, and it just falls out. It's classic kind of Chevy Chase. I love that type of stuff. It's so funny to me.
Yeah.
He does the same thing at dinner. It's a little less. It's not quite as funny as that, but at dinner when they're eating that really dry turkey, he pats his mouth with his tie, and then realizes he was using his tie, and he like starts, using his napkin on his tie.
Speaking of the dinner, man, when they cut that thing open, that is one of the most disgusting.
It's so gross.
I remember that as a young kid thinking, like, oh, what would that taste like?
God. Yeah.
It reminded me of something from like Tim Burton.
Yeah.
At the time. I don't know.
It's funny to see them going around the table. Like Ellen, she puts it on her fork and then just like flings it across the room. But Clark's mom, she tries to chew part of it. It's almost like she's eating beef jerky or something, And so she just dunks it in her water and starts like twirling it around in her water to get a little moisture on it or something. I always thought that's funny. And then of course Eddie at the dinner scene is always, he's eating the Jell-O with the cat food, and he's like, I don't know, but it's good.
Also the dog underneath the table hawking up.
That's another, just Eddie being completely oblivious about.
He's like, oh, he's good, he got it up.
Right.
And then
maybe you shouldn't feed him from the table. No, he's probably just rooting around in the trash, and he doesn't offer to like help pick it up or anything. I also really love, I guess it's like the great grandparents, or were they
oh no, it's the uncle
Uncle Lewis. Yeah, and I forget what the aunt's name is.
I can't remember either.
So the woman that plays that aunt, she's the voice of Betty Boop and Olive Oil, apparently, from Popeye cartoons. Yeah, so like that's
cool.
Yeah, pretty impressive. She cracks me up though. I love when they ask her to. I don't know why they would ask her to say grace, but they ask her to say grace, and she just does the Pledge of Allegiance. Right. And then I love that Eddie stands up and puts his hand over his heart.
Well, first she says grace. She died 30 years ago.
Yeah. She wrapped her cat. That always cracks me up too, when the box is like moving on when Clark's holding it. We could just go through all the beats in this movie about what's so funny.
Fried pussycat.
That part does crack me up though, because my cat used to do that. It would chew through wires and stuff. I would. This is how old I am. When I was in high school, we used, I had a Discman, and when I would go to sleep, I would put the Discman on the floor and have my headphones on, and I would fall asleep to music. Well, occasionally, the music would cut out, and I'd be like, "What the heck happened?" And I'd follow the cord of my headphones, and our cat had chewed through my headphones while I was listening to my music. And so that scene I always find kind of hilarious. I don't like hate cats or anything, but like I just find it funny because cats do that. They chew on wires and stuff. And
I had cats all my life, and I never had any that chewed on. Yeah, that chewed on any kind of cord.
I went through so many headphones because that stupid cat chew through those wires all the time.
Yeah, that's annoying for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the boss.
Brian Doyle Murray.
Brian Doyle.
Who I looked at, his name is Frank Shirley, so he's Mr. Shirley.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love his introduction where he's just walking down the hall.
He's
And
got
there's
like his
this
whole
man following behind, and then what's the first? I can't remember what they're talking about, but he stops and flatters Clark by saying, "I'd like a
his report on the cereal varnish or whatever it is."
Right.
Yeah.
And then he turns to him and goes, none of that jargon stuff we can understand, none of that bull crap.
Right. Layman's terms.
And then he goes, "Thank you for the card. We got your card." And then he just turns to his right hand man, and he just goes, "Corporate." And then he just gets the no reaction stare, and
right.
Then he just kind of shrinks back in fear.
Yeah.
My favorite.
My favorite moment in that scene is he comes up to Clark and he calls him Mark, and and Clark goes, "It's Clark, sir." And then Frank Shirley clearly doesn't know the who Clark was talking to, doesn't know that guy's name at all, and he goes, "This is Bill."
Right.
And then when he leaves, after the corporate cards thing, he turns to Clark and goes, "Just give me that report, Bill," and walks away.
Which I'm surprised he remembered the name, but It's funny because I always picked up that he
messes it up
his name, but I didn't pick up on the Bill thing until this time.
Oh, really?
Because it was like when he said the Bill, and then I was like, wait a minute, that's he. I was like, he told. Yeah, that was funny. Also,
again, it's another little subtle thing you can kind of miss, obviously,
right?
But it just cracks me up.
The phone too, where
I'm on an important call.
Give me somebody while I'm waiting.
Yeah. He keeps calling him Greaseball instead of Griswold.
Did he ever? I don't even think he got his name right at the end after they made up and everything. I think he still calls him.
He does when he introduces him to his wife. He does actually say Clark Griswold, so he does get it right at the very end. Yeah. But he gets it wrong when he first shows up. Like when Eddie first brings him into the house and he realizes where he is. I don't remember what he calls him, but I know he gets his name wrong then. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Brian Doyle Murray is, Bill Murray's brother. I think he's so funny in this movie. He's really good in...
The only other thing I can think of that I've seen him in is Groundhog Day.
Oh, yeah, Groundhog Day. Yeah, he's good in that, too. You're right. He was on Sullivan and Son.
And you were on.
Yeah, which I worked on. So he was very quiet when I worked on that show. He was like, some of the actors would talk with us, the extras, a lot, but he just kind of kept to himself. And so I don't know if he was just kind of a shy person or if he just didn't really feel like talking to us. He was never like rude or anything.
Right.
But like I never really got a chance. Like I talked to Dan Lauria a lot, the guy that plays, the dad from the Wonder Years. He played the dad on that show.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so we talked to him quite a bit. He had some really cool stories. But Brian Doyle Murray, he just always kind of kept to himself.
I kind of feel like I've kind of always felt like Bill Murray might kind of be that way too.
He might be.
Not that that's like a rude thing, but like you said, just kind of like, I don't know. Because there's like, I know Jim Carrey was very shy. And Seinfeld too, so they can sometimes have those tendencies.
I can totally understand that because that's kind of how I was. I mean, like I consider myself an introvert, but I wanted to be an actor for a long time. So it's like introverted extrovert kind of, and I think that's kind of maybe how those people are too.
Right.
Just a kind of introverted extrovert.
I love also how iconic the house with the lights just on
with the 25,000 lights or whatever
has become. And I actually might put up Christmas lights tomorrow for the first time I've ever done them by myself.
I keep wanting to get lights for my house, and I've never done it. I know they're a lot easier now that you don't have to use a staple gun like he does in the movie. I don't know how exactly they get it, how they attach nowadays, but I remember thinking that while watching this movie, like, gosh, what a pain, him having to staple those lights. want like, section by section, and to do so many lights. I mean, it does show him. It's the middle of the day when he starts off, when he's on the ladder, which I do love, him getting his shirt caught and everything. And then the next time we see him, it's dark out and he's on the roof, still stapling lights up on the roof. But yeah, it is an iconic, house. This incredibly bright, house with all the lights on it. You'll have to let me know how putting up lights goes for you. I don't own any lights for my outside, but we do have some like inflatables that I've been meaning to put up. I just haven't done it, so I might do that tomorrow as well.
Okay.
Side note, not important. I don't think we're going to put up our tree this year, just because where we normally put our tree is where Oliver's little swing is at the moment. And I just don't feel if we move that, I don't know where we're going to put it. So I might not even worry about it this year. Just do the tree next year.
Yeah,
it's not like he's going to remember.
Right. That's hilarious. Yeah, you got a year or two.
Yeah. This movie is the first time I ever heard the song Melikaliki Maka.
Right. Same for me.
Which I love now as part of my Christmas kind of rotation.
Right.
I listen to Christmas music.
And every time you hear it,
I think of the pool scene. Yeah.
Right.
I love the shot of so when you see one of Eddie's kids, Ruby Rose, I think is her name, come down the stairs, and it cuts to Chevy Chase from the back. He's just got both hands like on the curtains, just like face pressed to the glass. It just cracks me up.
I love how when the swimsuit hits the window. Like his face jerks back. Some clever writing.
Yep. John Hughes, man. I used to kind of say this before he passed away, obviously. I used to say John Hughes was the funniest man alive because, I mean, just the movies, so many kind of iconic comedies he wrote. When I was younger, I didn't realize, the same guy that wrote The Breakfast Club and Weird Science was the same guy that wrote Home Alone and Christmas Vacation and and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, So it's just he wrote some fantastic Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He wrote some amazing movies.
Yep.
Gone too soon, really. Although at the end of his career,
yeah, he had kind of retired.
Yeah, basically. I remember reading somewhere that when John Candy died, it kind of really made him kind of like, what's the word? Like,
he said they were mad
with Hollywood.
Yeah, he was kind of mad at him.
Yeah, he kind of felt like Hollywood killed John Candy.
Right.
And so I think he still worked, but he was basically kind of writing for hire. He wrote like a bunch of Disney, like Flubber, and a couple other like kids movies type things. And so he didn't write any. He wasn't writing the same type of movies that were his classics. So even if he hadn't passed away at the young age that he did, I don't know if we would have gotten anything like this from him again.
Right. Kind of like who wrote? It was that movie with Jack Black and it was the caveman movie.
Was it called Year One?
Yes.
Was that Harold Ramis?
I was going to say, wasn't that Harold Ramis?
I think he might have directed it. I don't know if he wrote it.
Okay.
I'm looking it up right now. He definitely directed it, and he actually co-wrote it with a couple other people. Story by Harold Ramis, screenplay by Lee Eisenberg, Gene Stupnitsky, who I think were writers for The Office, and Harold Ramis.
Never saw it, but apparently it was terrible.
Yeah, I never saw it either. Was that the last movie Harold Ramis directed? It was. He directed episodes of The Office as well, but that was the last movie he directed. Speaking of directors, so the director for this film, Jeremiah S. Chechik, he also directed Benny and June, which I really like. I don't know if you ever saw that with Johnny Depp. But other than that, he's a TV director now. He directs just a bunch of episodes of different television shows. The last movie he directed was The Avengers, the one with Sean Connery and Ray Fiennes, if you remember that. It has like a 3.4 or something on it, IMDb. So I never saw it, heard it was terrible.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. But I know what you're talking about.
I'm guessing because it was a pretty big failure that I don't know if he was able to really direct any more films, but he's had what looks like a good career directing television. So, but he hasn't. I think he's only directed like 4 movies, and Avengers was the last one. But this and Benny and June, I think were obviously his best.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I would say, is his best film. I don't have too much else to talk about with this movie, but I do want to point out the squirrel scene, because that scene just cracks me up. I love that his tree burns up because Uncle Lewis lights a cigar and just the whole tree goes up in flames. And so Clark goes a little crazy and goes and cuts down a tree from the front yard and puts it in the house, and didn't obviously check for wildlife, apparently. And so there's a squirrel, and I just love how they all get freaked out by it and are running to the other room, and his mom passes out.
Right.
And he's like, "Mom, stay there." And she's just face down in the carpet.
And this shot stays on there for just enough time for you to really see how she's laying there, like, still. Like, she's listening.
Yeah. Great. And then to top it off, I love how the neighbors get to a breaking point, and so Julia Louis-Dreyfus is like, you know what, I'm going over there and I'm going to talk to him, and it just ends with her getting attacked by the squirrel and the dog, right. and Chevy Chase just closes the door and goes, "Squirrel's gone." Great.
And you've noticed, right? Like, because I forgot, and I remember this is one of the things that I never noticed. And I noticed it recently. It wasn't this time, but I saw it this time and remembered. And that's when he pushes his mom over. The squirrel comes back, and I think it's the mom. He turns around, and it's on his back. And she screams "squirrel," and Clark just starts running, but as he runs, he knocks his mom over onto the couch. So she's still in the living room.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I said earlier that I feel like I've noticed everything in this movie, but clearly that's not the case.
Oh, dude. So, yeah. If you haven't seen that, that is, when you see it, you will
I'm gonna
laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Because he pummels her, man. She like flips. Like over the arm of the chair.
That's great. It's awesome. Well, clearly we love this movie, but let's go ahead and rate it anyway, just for fun. So, you want me to start, or you want to go first?
Go for it.
All right. It's kind of crazy because you know, it's a subjective thing. You know, I'm rating this movie for what it is. You know, you can't really compare it to other films, but for me, this is a 5-star movie. I mean, I love this movie. And so, you know, it's kind of, I get grief from our friend Stu, because he keeps, you know, I gave The Lost World 4 stars, and he thought I was insane to give The Lost World 4 stars, which I know you think that as well. But
so he thought it was too many.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's right.
And so I feel like somebody's going to listen to this and be like, Christmas Vacation is a 5-star movie,
right.
But it is for what it is. Yeah. Like, if you compare it obviously to like The Godfather or something, yes, The Godfather is a better movie, but this is a 5-star movie in my opinion. It is a great comedy.
I agree with you. It's a 5-star movie. And you have to I would imagine so that a lot of that is just from our nostalgia. Yeah, but when you really think about it, and we were talking about like everything in this movie, I don't think there's one joke, and there's so many. Like, there is no real dialogue in this movie that isn't a part of a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is really hard to do if you think about it. Like, they developed a story with this dialogue of jokes just throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
And I can't think of any joke that, you know, it isn't funny.
Right.
Like, every joke they say is funny.
Yeah.
And it was executed well, acted well, directed well. Who did the music for this?
The music was Angelo Badalamenti.
Okay.
Who I've heard that name, but I couldn't tell you what other movies he's done.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I agree with you. 5-star.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to know what you think about National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. You can always let us know at cinemaheroes.com. You can let us know on Facebook, facebook.com/SM and SM Podcast. Twitter and Instagram, both handles are at Cinema Heroes. Or you can leave a comment on this video, of course. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'd love to hear from you any way you want to reach out to us. I think that about wraps it up for this episode, though. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.
And why is the carpet all wet, Todd?
I don't know, Margot.